Hello and welcome to yet another edition of Through Imperial Eyes. My name is Braydon Leadbetter. I am your host.
I'm your co-host, Jackson Daleen. How's it going?
It's going. It's going. That's all I can say about now. Some unfortunate circumstances are happening in your life right now.
Yes, I'm currently on day 4 of my COVID quarantine.
Yes, Jackson does have COVID. Don't worry, we are doing this podcast remotely. We always have, so that's something that thankfully we don't have to worry about.
I'm not leaning over and kissing Braydon on the cheek right now.
Yeah, we're waiting until after the pandemic for that. But
it's going to be a great time.
So if you guys didn't know, it was supposed to be Saturday, but some technical difficulties delayed it. But we released our first episode of Imperial Cantina. That's kind of our fun show where we just sit down with a guest and talk about Star Wars one movie at a time. So we just talked about A New Hope with Chase Youngwalter, our good friend, and he has a podcast called Pointless Sports Opinions, and he came on and talked about everything. Literally, I think we touched on almost everything there is to talk about with A New Hope.
It was a good conversation. It was a good conversation. We definitely,
And then this coming weekend, it'll be either Saturday or Sunday. We haven't completely finalized the release date yet, but we will be joined by Addison Brown, an actor that we both know. We'll be talking about The Empire Strikes Back. So I'm excited about that one. That's my... I don't know. It always switches. It's my first or second favorite Star Wars movie behind The Last Jedi or in front of.
Same with Return of the Jedi. Yeah. I'm always, because it's like the perfect film. Yeah.
What have you been up to the past few days since we've talked Star Wars wise?
Absolutely nothing. So
there you go. As you should.
I've been working through a certain point of view, which is pretty fun. I'm enjoying it. I'm still on Tatooine. I got PlayStation Plus again, so I am playing more Star Wars Battlefront today. I had a Heroes versus Villains match in French today. I changed the language to French, and it was nice. Darth Vader, it's fun. It's just it's weirdly fun. But I think that's all that's kind of been active with what I'm actually doing. Keeping up with news. There's a lot of news that's kind of been fun.
Yeah, we'll get into that in a second. I haven't really been doing anything because whenever you're watching Lord of the Rings, as I just finished, it takes up a lot of your day when you want to sit down and watch Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, that's very fair.
You have to make a day of it. So that's kind of what if I'm not working, that's what I'm doing. And then this week I plan on...
you could spend the same amount of time watching all 9 again. Just watch the Skywalker Saga again.
Yeah.
Just do it again.
I plan on getting my third watch of the year in for Empire. So cool. I know we have some news stories we're going to get into this week, and a little bit later in the show, we are going to kind of have a more fun discussion about the ships in Star Wars. But Jackson, what's the first news story this week?
So starting out today for the news, Star Wars The Bad Batch was announced that it will debut on May 4th on Disney Plus. That will be May the 4th be with you, 2021. Yes. That's going to be a fun time. New episodes will be airing weekly. That's pretty exciting that we finally have an official date for that to start. I'm certainly excited for The Bad Batch. How far are you in Clone Wars now?
I've been really bad about watching Clone Wars. I haven't watched an episode in a week, but
betrayed us and started watching Lord of the Rings.
I know. We're kind of in this mode of wanting to go through different film franchises, but I think
do The Godfather next.
Yeah, we'll do The Godfather next.
Waste your time in a different direction.
Yeah, but I'm getting more and more excited for The Bad Batch. The more news I hear about it, and I'm definitely I think that's my goal date for finishing Clone Wars is May 4th, because I want to be able to watch Bad Batch
you should just immediately be able to pick it up.
Yeah. It's cool. That's kind of what is expected, just at weekly Friday episodes.
Disney Plus kind of brought it back because Netflix did the whole binge watching thing, and now
Disney I think Plus I like the way. I think the way they do it, where they're releasing episodes every week for these shows, is, if you look at something like Stranger Things with Netflix, everyone talks about it for a week and then the buzz is gone.
Yeah.
for these, it literally keeps the buzz going for these shows for months on end.
It reminds me, like, I remember in high school watching Walking Dead, and like Walking Dead would air on regular TV on FX, and like I would watch it on Sunday, and then the very next day I talked to my friends about it. We'd have like the whole week to talk about, the next episode. And that's cool that I guess Disney Plus made that relevant again. I guess if you've been watching regular TV though, like it never went out of style. It's just everybody's watching streaming stuff now. So
yeah. And there's also those people who like want to wait until everything has been released and then binge watch it.
Yeah.
Which I'm not one of those people. I like being able to speculate every week and just like, coming up with different theories and ideas what's going to happen next week. But that's kind of expected, and that'll be cool that it's coming out on Star Wars Day. I think that is a year to the day whenever Clone Wars finished.
Yeah, it's when the finale came out. Oh, yeah. Dude, 3 a.m. it like was uploaded, and I remember sitting there and like you watch it and like, those last 4 episodes. I want to watch that the perfect cut of Revenge of the Sith. Have you seen that?
No.
It's a 4-hour cut of Revenge of the Sith where it's essentially the last 4 episodes of Clone Wars perfectly spliced into Revenge of the Sith to make it this super paced out movie.
Yeah, I can't wait until season 7.
It's apparently only been like live streamed. Like you can only access it by like paying for a live stream to watch it.
Wow.
Yeah, I think it's gonna.
That sounds awesome.
Totally be down to watch it. Yeah,
awesome.
What's next?
So, Republic Commando it has been confirmed that it will be released on PS4 and Switch. I'm not sure if there's a exact release date yet, but it is being all updated, and they're going to be including different improvements and rework the controls and add trophies and stuff.
Make it compatible. Yeah,
yeah. And I just think that why not do this with all the classic Star Wars games?
They just might actually. I think that's kind of the plan because imagine a Battlefront 1 and 2 remaster. Oh, that'd be so cool. I've never played Republic Commandos.
I haven't either.
But watching this trailer definitely made me want to. It was not the vibe I necessarily anticipated it was.
Yeah.
So, I think that's super cool. I'll definitely be playing that, especially, PS4. That's perfect. And you've got a Switch, so.
Yeah, I have a PS4 and a Switch, so best of both worlds.
Perfect. Look at you. Yeah. That's awesome.
But yeah, they haven't really sent out too many details on this game, so there's not much to talk about. So what is next on our list of news?
So Daisy Ridley did an interview recently. She's coming out in a new movie called Chaos Walking. Yeah, her and Tom Holland. I keep seeing ads up with those. It looks fun. Anyway, in her interview, they kind of talked about what is the reality of her returning as Rey. And Daisy was just kind of like, I don't know, never say never, Yeah. She just basically explained she was literally, never say never. I'm always open to revisit, but also the beautiful thing is it's this wonderful, huge universe with all these stories that have yet to be told. She continued on and said, I think there's a lot of cool things to be made before any potential revisit. In terms of revisiting the character, I think that's a bye-bye for now. My thoughts on that initially are like, yeah, I'm kind of down. Not like as I wouldn't focus on Rey, but like it'd be cool to see like a cameo or something if she really wanted to like hop back in the costume for a little while.
Yeah,
I'm never opposed to that style. But I also agree with her statement because like, yeah, there are so many different things you can tell with this world and this universe that like, why focus on more of that? Not necessarily saying like don't, but more like Rey had her time. Like we saw Rey's story. Like we don't necessarily anymore. But that doesn't mean I don't want Daisy Ridley back in the robes with her. I want to see her yellow lightsaber. The only thing I got from that is Star Wars Battlefront. And that's the best content I'll get from that.
Yeah, I think that it hasn't been that long yet since the Skywalker saga ended anyway. It's only been not even 2 years yet. So there's still a long way to go before I think a general audience is ready to hear Rey's story continue. I think there is possibilities and opportunities for stories to be told with Rey's character down the line. I just think right now just isn't the time, especially with, understandably, a lot of people still have a bad taste in their mouth from the sequels. I'm not one of those people, but there are a lot of people. And I just think, give it, 7 to 15 years and let people, get over the sequel stuff. And maybe there is some story to be told with Rey that could be done really well and doesn't have to be a Skywalker saga movie.
I have a question that is more not necessarily centered about Daisy Ridley and Rey, but more kind of like it could work with this too. Do you think we will see content past the Rise of Skywalker timeline wise?
Oh yeah, for sure. I think that's where they're going with Rogue Squadron. I really hope that's going to be.
Oh, you think they're just going to continue?
Saga.
Oh, I didn't necessarily think about that. I thought that was going to be more like
because I think on the logo, that silhouette of the X-wing is one of the new X-wings.
Oh, it's a New Republic one.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Okay.
At least that would be. I want to see. I want to see the state of the galaxy after Episode 9. I want to see where we are.
Yeah. That's very true. I want to see where this goes, even to expand. And I think that's kind of funny that I am interested to see where the sequels will take us, even though necessarily everybody is kind of, I say people are done with the sequels, but like that's a split decision, like argument,
Yeah. I definitely think there are opportunities to continue Rey's story though. Like, just like people thought that, Luke's arc was finished by Return of the Jedi, but then you realize, there's so many opportunities to give him more depth and
that is true.
Continue his character arc. But yeah, I think that's definitely a possibility. Moving on here, this is kind of just a fun thing. Tom Holland actually auditioned for Finn in The Force Awakens. How weird would that have been?
What a different vibe, I know.
Yeah. I'm going to kind of read his quote from the interview when he was talking about it. He says, I remember my audition for Star Wars. I was like 4 or 5 auditions in, and I think I was auditioning for John Boyega's role. I remember doing this scene with this lady, bless her, and she was just a drone. So I was doing all the, he means droid, but he calls it a drone.
So yeah, that's not necessarily good right off the bat. Yeah.
So I was doing all this, like, we got to get back to the ship. And she was going bleep, bloop, bleep, blop, bloop. I just couldn't stop laughing. And I found it so funny. And I felt really bad because she was trying really hard to be convincing android or drone or whatever they're called. Yeah, I obviously didn't get the part. That wasn't my best moment. I'm kind of glad he didn't get the part.
Yeah, I'm glad he also was like, oh yeah, like, no, I'm definitely not walking into that one.
Like, and especially because, John Boyega is such a big Star Wars fan. And I think that really helps the way he was able to get into the character. And Tom Holland's like, what are they called again? Drones? Yeah. And I just think,
that's so good.
It wasn't meant to be. And definitely wasn't. And I think, we wouldn't have a Tom Holland Spider-Man if he got this part anyway.
Could we have a John Boyega
Spider-Man?
Well, not just necessarily. I guess it's a Spider-Man.
Yeah. Who knows? But I already knew John Boyega back then because there was this cult phenomenon movie called Attack the Block. I don't know if you've seen Attack the Block.
I've heard of it. I've never seen it. I am aware of what it is, though. I do need to check it out.
Basically, this gang of kids in London get attacked by monsters and aliens, and they have to fight them off and save London. It's awesome. Anyway, yeah, I think that's just kind of just a fun thing to talk about, the what ifs of casting. But what's our next story?
So we're actually going back to talking about the Bad Batch. The official Star Wars Instagram released a story showing off the first look at Fennec Shand's character for the Bad Batch in essentially Ming-Na Wen's animated form. The second time, because she's also Mulan. It looks all right. She kind of looks like Lara Croft.
Yeah, she does.
She looks like OG Lara Croft.
I was just about to say, she kind of looks like a video game character.
I think it's because this is singling her out.
It's like a still image too.
It's a really close up image. So none of the rest of the I guess background animation blends her in, so it just looks like it looks like the image on the back of like a Tomb Raider game, like
especially because like even her hair is kind of like squared off weirdly.
I think it's her lips for me.
The mouth shape.
They just look very puckered, and like I see what they were trying to replicate on Ming-Na Wen, and the execution's a little focused in, you know?
Yeah, it'll look a lot better in motion with, you know, in the atmosphere and in the environment, and especially with like, you know, the cinematics of it, it'll look fine. But this picture just looks kind of weird.
But this image is just funny to talk about. Yeah, that's funny. What do we have next?
Kind of moving on here to our big news story of the week. So Indira Varma joins the cast of ObiWan Kenobi, the Star Wars series. Now, this Deadline is reporting this, and they're saying that this is good. They haven't announced what role she's playing, and they haven't announced what role anybody who's been announced in the cast is playing besides Ewan and Hayden. We both know where we're going with this.
You look right at her and you're like, oh, easy. Like, oh, okay, cool. Well, that's cool that she's in it.
It's cool that she's Satine.
Yeah. This definitely confirms that Ray Park is probably going to be Darth Maul in the Kenobi series. I bet you they'll recreate that scene in live action.
That or like from a different perspective.
Like a different perspective.
Yeah.
You know what that means? Like we'll see like, he's wearing the Mandalorian armor in that too. Oh, that's a good Obi-Wan look.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, she could just be, you know, a new character they're going to bring in.
They could totally left field us and just
but you know, she is just so close in resemblance to Satine.
Just give her blonde hair and she's a spitting image. Like,
I don't. For this series, do you think that Kenobi will be full Ben Kenobi in full Ben Kenobi mode yet, or do you think he'll still be in the transition like prequel Kenobi getting into Ben Kenobi?
I think this will be about his transition into Ben Kenobi.
Yeah.
Because I don't necessarily my general idea of what I think the show is that essentially Obi-Wan's gonna be like forced on this adventure. I don't necessarily think it'll all be on Tatooine.
Oh yeah, he's got to leave Tatooine.
Yeah, so I don't know.
Because Vader wouldn't come to Tatooine.
Vader would definitely come to Tatooine.
I don't think he would come to Tatooine. He hates Tatooine.
He hates Tatooine, but like, hey, my wife was pregnant with 2 kids. I should at least make sure that that Owen and Beru are dead. And Obi-Wan's like, hey, stop that. Vader's like, you're alive too?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that's I'm so interested because there are so many routes to go. Like there's endless possibilities, but some of the possibilities could kind of mess up the effectiveness of other certain moments in Star Wars, like how we were talking about last week, how, you know, if we do see this big climactic battle with Vader versus Kenobi again, does that take away from the final duel they have in A New Hope? Emotional stakes wise?
I kind of assume that what they're going to do is essentially make the dialogue stay in canon from A New Hope. Like, when I last saw you, I was the novice, and you instantly think of the Mustafar fight, but then they're going to make some new canon thing. So yeah, I understand what you are asking.
Yeah, I think they will find a way to you know, make it effective and do it correctly to where it's not going to kind of,
I almost just want to say I trust them, because I don't necessarily think that. I think the people who are in charge of Star Wars right now are really smart about Star Wars, and they're considering all of those factors, because that's a common enough question.
Yeah, and I beg this, please get the story group involved for this show. I'm sure they already have, but a lot of the new Star Wars content, they kind of set the story group aside and just like let them deal with like the visual dictionaries and the novels and that kind of stuff. Get the story group involved here. Let them, let them give you tidbits from the Vader comic and tidbits from all the different stuff that isn't just the movies and the TV shows.
Make sure that your canon is all around. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, with people like Deborah Chow at the helm and, all of those different kinds of people who are involved with this show, I think that they would be dumb not to. So
I agree.
That's just what I'm hoping.
Especially after the response of the sequel trilogies.
Yeah. I think the reason why this is so anticipated for me is because I'm so curious as to where they're going to go with it.
Oh yeah, I'm so curious to see what they're going to show us, because they got some kind of trick pulled up their sleeve. Oh
yeah, and they start production in like 2 weeks. They start production super soon.
Amazing! So I love to hear that.
We're probably going to be getting a lot of news here in the next month or two.
Yeah,
maybe with some set photos. I hope. But anyway, what's the final story of this week?
So Alexander Freed, one of the beloved Star Wars artists, released I think this is the final book.
This is the third of the trilogy.
This is the final. Yeah, this is the trilogy. The final Alphabet Squadron book, the new Victory's Price. It released March 2nd. Whenever you're listening to this, it released March 2nd. That's today for us.
Yep.
I read the first one. I have the second one ready to go, but I'm finishing Certain Point of View.
Give us a little like a brief reaction to the first one. What do you think?
The first one is, it's definitely a fun character study rather than it being like I guess like you would expect like the X-Wing novels and like the old fighter, like the dog fight movies and whatnot. No, this is essentially, it's about this ragtag team of people who all became rebels. And they're formed by the New Republic. They actually work on Harrison Dula's ship. They are
Ghost?
under, on her fleet. Like she at this point, she is like a commanding general of the New Republic, and essentially she they're a special unit fighter squadron, and it's formed of essentially one guy who is I forget the species name, but he's the same species as Want to Buy a Death Stick. It's that guy. So he's got the little twills on his head. He's their information officer. He's their spy. There's Yreka Quell, who's the main character, and she is essentially a TIE defector, an Imperial defector from this TIE fighter squadron that is essentially called Shadow Wing, and they're this super good TIE fight team that everyone's they're legends and whatnot. She defected while the Empire was doing Operation Cinder, which if you've played the Star Wars Battlefront 2 game, that's the plot of what they stop is an Operation Cinder on a planet, which was essentially these big weather machines that Palpatine sent out after he died that destroyed the ecosystems of planets and whatnot.
Yeah.
And the whole quote unquote plot of the movie, before I get to the quick rest of the characters, it's a small team.
Part of the movie.
Yeah, right. Alphabet Squadron is hunting down Shadow Wing, and they've appointed Yreka to be the leader of it because she was a part of it. So everybody doesn't trust each other. There's Nath Tenzin, who is a rebel who lost his whole squadron to the Shadow Wing, and he essentially went crazy and went rogue and started doing stuff like Saw Gerrera and just blowing stuff up and just killing people because he was just I didn't care anymore. And he essentially defected from the army. He left the rebellion. And then there's, I forget their names. There's two where it's essentially they were both part of different squadrons, but they were on the same ship, and essentially the plot of their little story, because that's half the book is their story of how they get on Alphabet Squadron, is that Shadow Wing figured out how to track in hyperspace and chase them into this giant space cluster to where it was just a storm all the time, and they would just stalk each other. and like every once in a while have dogfights, and essentially Shadow Wing picked them off to where these two people were the only two in the entire fleet that survived. And it's just like they spent 2 weeks like in their cabin alone, like in their ship cabin, traveling through hyperspace. It's a fun read. It's a good time. It's a little dense in the middle just because it's a lot of like character growth and whatnot. And once the character growth happens, it's instantly like, we're going to save the day. Like, here we go. So I definitely will read number 2 and eventually number 3. It'll be fun to talk about and whatnot. They're good. They're fun.
Cool. Where in the timeline do these take place?
It's probably thinking Lost Stars years. It's the last year of the war, I would say. Okay. Because they're like they're like still dealing with like Imperial forces fighting back. Nothing big like Jakku has happened yet. The war's still pretty normally raging on. I would say like within a year or two after Return of the Jedi. Okay.
So they're with the hyperspace tracking. So this is kind of like the beginnings of them actually utilizing it, because it's kind of been, we learned in Rogue One that it's kind of like like an idea that's still being developed.
Yeah, in this it kind of is like, at this point it's that the Empire's figured it out.
Gotcha.
And I think this is eventually what leads them to the technology that can make TIE fighters travel through hyperspace. Because they're able to do it, like they just kind of send a shuttle at a time and then like dispatch the TIE fighters. They wipe everyone out, come back, they go back to the main ship, and the main ship zooms off. And then the good guys will leave, and then like Empire's like back within the hour.
Right.
And they're just like, hey, what's up?
Awesome.
Yeah, it's a good time. So you want to have our discussion of the day?
Yeah, let's kind of get into this this little discussion. We wanted to, since there wasn't a lot of news this week, we kind of wanted to just see if there's any other thing fun we could talk about. And we kind of want to talk about some of our favorite Star Wars ships and vehicles throughout the entire saga. Obviously there's going to be a lot that come to mind when you first think about it, things like the Millennium Falcon and X-Wings and TIE Fighters.
Yeah, the classics.
Yeah, what are some of your, starting with just the first couple, what are some of your favorite Star Wars ships?
Off the top of my head, or do you want me to read from my list? They're both the same thing.
Yeah, go for it.
So for my list, it's the Naboo ships, right? There's the Phantom Menace one, and then I like the Attack of the Clones one that looks like the bomber. That like is the ship from the very beginning that gets blown up. Okay, and then I think there's another. Or I think they take the Phantom Menace one to Geonosis, or maybe I have those switched. I'd have to watch Attack of the Clones.
I don't remember. Yeah,
but like it's the silver Naboo ships. They both look cool.
Yeah, the J-type. I think they have it down as like the J-type 327 Nubian Royal Starship.
That's the Phantom Menace, and then the J-type diplomat barge.
That's the Phantom Menace one.
Yeah, the one you said is the Phantom Menace, where the diplomat barge is the bomber. It's the two-wing.
That's right.
Yep. I love Star Destroyers.
Yeah, you do.
I have a Pinterest board that's actually secret. That is only
Not
Star
anymore.
Destroyers.
Yeah.
I mean, like, you can't see it. It's only mine, just for me. But it's only Star Destroyers.
Nice.
It's just Star Destroyer art that I have. I just love how menacing they are.
Yeah.
I love how evil they are.
I have this fear of very, very big, like, structures. And like imagine being on like the Titanic or something and seeing and
just
like
how massive
during it sinking and it's going up and you just see how absolutely ginormous that thing is. I feel the same way about like if I was on Jakku and I saw the big Star Destroyer,
the big one,
crash. It's just terrifying to me.
I had a image on it was my PlayStation background, and it was San Francisco, but it had a Star Destroyer in the back, and the Star Destroyer just like towered, like just was this massive giant thing. And then it was like the Golden Gate Bridge, like, yay. Like,
yeah, that's just crazy.
Yeah. I love a good Star Destroyer. Name some of yours and then I'll throw in some more of mine.
I just think this is This one I think is my number. If I had to rate them, which we're not doing, but if I had to, this would be my number one. And it's obviously the Millennium Falcon, or
of course, yeah, of course.
If you want to call it the YT 1300 Light Freighter, Corellian Light Freighter.
Yeah, right.
But man, if that ship just, I think it's because we see it do so many cool things. And how versatile it is as a ship,
and it's such a weird design that you don't expect it to be able to pull off these things.
A flying hamburger. I mean, come on. I mean, like in like
it looks like the end of a spatula. Like
and it can go through like an asteroid field with no problem as long as you got Han Solo at the pilot seat. But yeah, there's just. It's just like the perfect, if I was going to, have an adventure in the galaxy, or if I was doing like a tour of the galaxy, I would want it to be in the Millennium Falcon.
I'd probably do a TIE fighter.
Really? In that cramped little ball?
I don't know. It wouldn't be my base of operation. Did you ever read the book Ready Player One?
No, I saw the movie. I didn't watch. I didn't read the book.
In the book, there's a part in it where he's like at his base of operations, and he's like on a little moon that he bought that like is his base, but he's got like a hangar of like classic ships that he's collected. And there's Serenity from Firefly. He's got like the Batwing or whatever, but he owns a TIE fighter, and he was like, yeah, I wanted the Millennium Falcon, but like TIEs are fast, and I was just kind of like, yeah, that makes sense. I was like, yeah, like. Oh, I'll just like show up in my Star Destroyer and just dip out in my TIE fighter and just zoom across the place real quick.
Yeah, I can see that. But yeah, there's just a certain charm to the Millennium Falcon, especially in the state that Han Solo has it in compared to Lando.
Yeah, right.
It's just so good. And it kind of hits home the whole feeling of Star Wars and tone of Star Wars of like being lived in, and
right.
Because you expect this whole galaxy, like if you're first coming into Star Wars, you expect it to be how you think the future is going to be, all shiny and bright, like Star Trek.
Yeah, everything is polished. Yeah,
and then you get into it, and it's like a dirty, rundown ship. Like it always needs parts and always needs 20s. Yeah, it always needs to be fixed, and it always needs to be like you can like it
doesn't really work. And
in the original trilogy, original trilogy, like anytime they have to go anywhere, Han Solo has to make some sort of adjustment, or Chewie has to go work on something
before we gotta fine tune it real quick. Yeah.
And then obviously another kind of entry point into Star Wars. Like, I mean, the entry point into Star Wars is the Tantive 4.
The Corvettes. Those are on my list too. Those are my favorites. Yeah.
Yeah, I just think the shape of it is so bizarre, as if the Millennium Falcon isn't. But
yeah, right.
I also just love the interior white everything.
The white, yeah.
It's just so nice, glossy.
Those are always really pretty. Yeah, really pretty in the eyes. I like the Jedi Starfighters. Like I love the second version, the Revenge of the Sith style.
Yeah, I do kind of like the. It's not a Jedi Starfighter, but it's the one that Kenobi has in Attack of the Clones when he's going to Camino. He also goes to Geonosis.
The little red. That's like the Phase 1 version.
Yeah, it's a different model, but like to get to hyperspace, it has to. Like I think that's how it all is. It's getting that ring.
Both versions. Yeah, they had to the little ring. Yeah, and like it helps them.
The Attack of the Clones one is kind of like a flying tortilla chip with a little dome on
it. They're like arrowheads.
Yeah.
That's funny. I like B-Wings. I think out of all of the Rebellion ships, I think B-Wings are my favorite. They're my favorite ship to fly in Star Wars Squadrons.
Well, speaking of Rebellion ships, I do have one that is a Resistance ship. And for those of you who are Last Jedi fans, is the Rattus, which is named after Admiral Rattus from Rogue One.
It's the Mon Calamari ship.
Yeah, it's the one that takes out the dreadnought that Holdo He does the hold maneuver where she puts him in
Oh,
hyperspace and destroys the
yeah.
dreadnought. Yeah. That ship, and it's called the Rattus after Admiral Rattus, which is one of my favorite characters from Rogue One. I just love that shit. I love all of those calamari. Like they have the weird warts on the ship, and yeah, I love those.
There's and actually in Alphabet Squadron they spend time on a Mon Calamari ship, and like it gives you an insight of like what it's like in there. It's apparently super hot because Mon Calamari are amphibious and need like higher temperatures.
It's gotta be all humid and hot.
So they're just like, yeah. So it's nice for them, but like for humans, it sucks. Like it's awful.
Yeah. I also like, how awesome was it watching The Force Awakens for the first time and just seeing Kylo Ren's ship come down with those wings folding up when it lands? Cool.
My favorite shot of it is in Last Jedi, when it's the line of the super AT-ATs and it's his ship right above, and like the shot of him and Luke. I love how
it looks so commanding.
Just hovers. Yeah, it's so evil look. Yeah, I love it.
I mean, it is called the Upsilon class command shuttle, so it is commanding.
It's awesome.
It just like, it looks like something Kylo Ren would pilot.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, that's cool. This is kind of a funny one, but the Gungan Bongo submarine from the Phantom Menace,
that's got the twirly, like they look like streamers in a fan, like
yeah, or they kind of look like, have you ever gone through a car wash and those weird rubber flaps? Yeah. It looks like those. But I think was it me or somebody else that I knew had a Lego of that? And
oh, that's cool.
Yeah. And
and like, did the thing spin? I bet you. Like,
I don't remember. I was so young, but I've always been like weirdly emotionally attached to that submarine thing only because of that Lego.
I like the what are the Republic shuttles? You know, that looks like the paper clips.
Oh yeah, from Attack of the Clones. Well, when I remember them from Attack of the Clones, whenever they're going over Geonosis.
Yeah, that's kind of when they're first shown. I'm trying to look for them on this website. It only has it's only got their starfighters, which are the Arc 170 ones. Were you a fan of Vader's his Super Star Destroyer?
Yeah. You
like the Super Star Destroyer? I always thought it looked kind of weird because it still had like a Star Destroyer tower, but it was in the middle of like the weird like guts thing that the ship is.
Yeah.
And it always looked out of place. It always just was this like small little tower commanding this massive ship, you know?
Yeah, it always looks like there's like a city in like the middle of it for some reason.
Yeah,
I don't know what that is.
I don't know what it is. It's like they just didn't want to give it more armor. Which one was this? This is the Executor. Yeah. And his first one's like the Devastator or something like that. I can't remember Vader's first ship.
How do you feel about Kylo's TIE Silencer, his ship from The Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker?
Oh, I like that one.
Yeah,
that's the Kylo ship that I prefer. It's the Last Jedi when he shoots Leia's cabin out, but he's like spinning through. Yeah, it's always cool.
Yeah, I love how that thing maneuvers. It's so satisfying.
I love the sound it makes, the like skip tie sound.
Yeah, it's very grungy. What's
your favorite like sounding ship? Like, what is like the most pleasing sound?
I think it's got to be the TIE Fighter screech.
It probably is. Yeah. I do like.
I mean, we have it at the top of our show.
Yeah, right. I do like the roar of the Falcon.
Yeah.
Just that, whenever it barrels over something, I love that sound that it produces.
Yeah, and I also do love the sound of a good X-wing.
Like an X-wing landing. I was thinking about that, like that wind down sound.
Yeah. Just a couple other kind of honorable mentions. The Naboo N1 fighter from the Phantom Menace, those yellow ships that Anakin gets in.
Looked like what's that like tennis game with the shuttle rockets? Looked like, I don't know why. that's what my head went to.
The shuttlecock.
Yeah.
The badminton.
Badminton. That's the word that was in my head.
Yeah, I remember seeing them and thinking, because my first introduction to Star Wars was the Phantom Menace, seeing them and thinking that that's how just the ship design was like in Star Wars. And then you realize that is such a different, weird design from every other kind of Star Wars ship. Like the weird pointy,
so nimble, you wouldn't expect it to be a fighter.
Yeah, it's so like you definitely could pierce a person if it backed into somebody.
Naboo just likes to put that chrome on like everything they own. Yeah. So just those are always fun. Those are pleasing to the eye. My idiot self as a kid always thought that's just what the ships were. Like, I guess I never really understood the political jargon that happens in Phantom Menace when I was a child. So I never really understood like whose ships were whose.
I didn't start understanding the political jargon of the Phantom Menace until like this year.
That's also mainly because you probably didn't watch it till this year in a hot recent minute.
Oh no, I've probably watched it at least once a year for the past 10 years.
It's like trade treaties and whatnot. The Trade Federation like broker trade treaty or whatever. I don't know. I gotta while you watch Phantom Menace.
And then lastly, while we're on the Phantom Menace, the pod racers are so cool.
That's also a good sound. That's always fun. And the speeders. Just like Star Wars speeders, pod racing. I always loved the different styles that they had.
Yeah, and the sounds are that is a good point. The sounds are so awesome.
What's the one? Was it Sebulba's that the wop 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 wop?
Something like that. Yeah, I know.
Something like that.
Sebulba's is
had like the reverb. You know, whatever one had like the reverb that like echoed like that.
Yeah, and here's my impression of a pod racer.
Skywalker's taking the lead.
Oh my gosh, the pod racer announcers are so that should have been in our honorable mentions for whenever we're talking about our C and D list characters.
The pod racer guy.
Yeah.
Too funny.
Young Skywalker.
Yeah, right.
But guys, I think we kind of went over sloppily all of our favorite Star Wars ships. As you can see, we're not Star Wars experts. We just love Star Wars.
We just like talking about it.
But thank you guys so much for listening to this episode. You can find us on Instagram at Through Imperialized Pod and on Twitter at Imperialized Pod. And then if you also want to hook us up and subscribe on the YouTubes, you can search Through Imperialized Podcast. We will pop up. Jackson, where can they find you on the socials?
You can find me on Twitter at QuacksandScaline. That's QUACKSON, and Scaline like the triangle. And you can follow my photography Instagram at Daleen_photography. Daleen spelled Daleen. Braydon, what about you?
You can find me, if you want to follow me, on Instagram at braydonleadbetter and on Twitter at braydathlon. And then, guys, please make sure, if you have Apple Podcasts, that you are rating and reviewing the show. It really, really helps out the show. And if you don't, go ahead and follow us on Spotify. That always helps out, too. And if you want to ask us a question, we didn't get a chance to cover any questions this week. If you want to ask us a question,
don't be shy.
Don't be shy. Don't be shy. Hit up our social medias. We are always open to questions. We have a question segment at the end of every show besides this week. It was kind of a busy week. And we will talk about them. And we want to talk about you guys' questions. Jackson, do you want to talk about their questions?
I, of course, want to talk about their questions. You said, well, I have a busy week. And I was like, yeah, I have COVID.
Thank you guys so much for listening. Jackson has COVID. And also, this coming weekend, we are going to be talking about The Empire Strikes Back with Addison Brown. So keep a lookout for that for the second edition of Imperial Cantina.
That'll be fun.
Yeah, but until then, may the Force be, Jackson,
with you.